Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Level Up Law. We're here at Legal Services of South Carolina. We are leveling up your legal knowledge on the different areas of law that we practice in. I'm Susan Ingalls, Senior Staff Attorney with South Carolina Legal Services, and today I'm joined by Tom Trent, who is the Managing Attorney of our statewide intake office. And Tom is going to be providing tips to prepare you when you're applying for our legal services online. We are recording this webinar and we'll post it to our YouTube channel later this week, along with the slides that Tom will be using today. We'll have you in listen only mode during the presentation, but be sure to put any questions you have in the question box, and we definitely invite you to do that. Again, thanks so much for joining us. There's a lot of information to cover, so I'm going to turn things over to Tom now so he can get started. Tom?
Thank you, Susie. Good afternoon, everybody. My name again is Tom Trent, the Intake Managing Attorney for South Carolina Legal Services. Today's presentation is to help us at Legal Services get a better intake done for you and to eliminate a long, lengthy callback. And I'm going to give you tips to apply for online intake. First of all, it's important to know that your intake is very important to us. In order to apply for legal services online, these are the kind of cases that you can apply for online. In the consumer field, we do cases if your creditor is harassing you, if you want to dispute a debt, if you've been served with collection papers, if you the car that you just bought needs repairs and you can't get the repairs made, or you want to file for bankruptcy. In our education field, we do appeals for suspensions and expulsions. We also do cases where you're trying to get the child that you have in your physical custody enrolled in school, and the school won't let you enroll the child for one reason or another. We also do special education cases, so if you think your child is not getting the education services that it needs, you can apply online for an intake on that subject. In regards to employment law, we do wrongful terminations. If you have a wage claim, that means that you didn't get paid for the amount of work you did per hour. If you've been denied unemployment benefits, and we also do expungements in order to get you, so when they do a check for employment, that doesn't hinder you on being able to get a job. In the family law area, we do amended birth certificates for children. We do, if you would like to change your South Carolina birth certificate, if there's something on your birth certificate that's not right, if you want to do a name change, if you want to get an order protection, if you want to get guardianship or conservatorship of an adult. Guardianship is if you are trying to be able to handle the person's affairs, and a conservatorship is if you're going to try to handle somebody's financial affairs who is incompetent. We'll help people get visitation with their children. We do grandparents visitation also, so you can apply for visitation online. And if you have no birth certificate whatsoever and you're born in South Carolina, you can get what is called a delayed birth certificate and get one now. What you find out you cannot apply for online right now is custody intakes and divorce intakes, but we're soon to have that in the coming year. For health, we do Medicaid denials. If you've got a Medicaid overpayment, we will try to appeal that Medicaid overpayment. If you've got a Medicare denial or Medicare overpayment, we do those cases, and you can apply online for those cases. Housing, we do evictions, we do foreclosures. We do, if you've gotten something from public housing that you're in danger of losing your public housing, or you get a note from Housing Authority that says your Section 8 voucher is being terminated, we do those appeals. If your landlord has locked you out, or is not making repairs, or has turned off your water or electricity, we will help you in those matters. If you're trying to get your security deposit back from your landlord, you can apply online for help. And if you live on heirs property and you're seeking to get the title put in your name, we will file what's called a quiet title or a petition to determine heirs to see if we can help you do that. You may need a quiet title for those that are living in on heirs property that have FEMA or disaster recovery issues. In order to get the assistance needed, you might need the title put in your name. For public benefits, we will do Social Security disability denials. We will appeal those. We will appeal Social Security SSI denials for adults and children. So we also will do overpayments. If you get overpaid for Social Security disability or overpaid with SSI benefits, we will appeal those cases. If you get a notice that your food stamps are going to end, or that you got denied food stamps, or you got overpaid food stamps, you can apply online for help. And also you can apply if you get denied VA benefits. If you get denied VA benefits, or if you can, we can also do appeals if you want to appeal the disability rating on your VA benefit. Taxes. We'll do tax cases if you for earned income tax credits. So if you owe money because you claimed a child you should not have, we'll do those cases. And if you get a statement from the IRS that says you owe them money, apply online. We'll be able to help you. For advanced directives and wills, if you need a last will and testament done, or if you need to probate somebody's estate, if you want to give somebody your power of attorney, remember that a power of attorney has to be given, it can't be gotten. So the person that is calling us or applying online for a power of attorney is the person that wants to give it to somebody, not the person that wants to get it from somebody. The same thing with the healthcare power of attorney. We'll do those cases. And again, they have to be given and can't be got. So how do you apply online? You go to our website, www.sclegal.org, hit the green Apply Online button, and then you'll see this screen. Basically what this screen is telling you is that we do civil cases. We don't do criminal matters. And if you have a criminal matter, there is a public defender's office link that you to click on. It will give you your local public defender's number for you to call for help. And if you're a victim of domestic violence or abuse and you need to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, we give you that number at 1-800-799-SAFE. These four icons are your choices on what can happen when you apply, go to our website and start an application. If you're just seeking legal advice, you will be given scfreelegalanswers.org, and you can ask a question and hopefully an attorney will give you an answer. If you're looking for legal information, just stuff about a subject, you would fill out your county and the screens to be coming, and it will give you your county specific referrals for legal information. And if you need a referral for things like housing assistance, food stamp assistance, child support, and not wanting to apply, you would then go to our referral section and get your local referrals for the county that you live in. If you're going to apply online, that is when an intake application begins. You do that by hitting the blue Get Started button, and that will take you to this slide. The computer will show you that will ask you if your problem is based in South Carolina. If your problem is based in South Carolina, it will we'll move to the next screen. If it's not, you'll get a screen that says if your case is not in South Carolina, that you're going to need to go to www.lawhelp.org and find the appropriate legal services in the state where your legal problem is in. It's once you click yes that your legal problem is in South Carolina, you will also pick the county where you live. Again, this is important that you put the county you live in, because if you're not wanting to apply online but only want referrals or legal information, the computer will give you the information for the county that you live in, and it will be county specific to your needs. Then you pick the type of problem you're having. Remember that the types of cases you can apply for online. You can't apply for, so some of these buttons will not allow you to apply online because there's nothing on there yet for us to do. When you get down to the part where you're saying what type of help are you looking for, it will ask you if you want legal advice, legal information, referrals, and apply online. Again, the purpose is to, if your purpose is to do an intake application to see if you can get a free attorney to do work on your case, you hit apply online. And that is what it looks like when you click on the apply online. The system will tell you that you chose to apply online, and you're going to be asked information in order to determine if you qualify for legal services. The system will not throw you out and tell you that the case is your case can't be helped. We don't do that because we have some several grants that we may be able to help you that are not financial eligibility is important. The next screen will tell you what legal problem you picked. So if you picked housing, it's going to say you've picked housing, select a legal problem code descriptive. If you remember correctly, remember some of the housings were choices were eviction, foreclosure. You would go back and pick the drop-down box and pick the specific legal problem that you're having. Again, eviction, foreclosure, in danger of losing public housing, your landlord locked you out, or your landlord did not make repairs, the landlord turned off the water or electricity, you have quiet title issues, and your Section 8 voucher is being terminated, or your security deposit or your full security deposit has not been returned. We will ask you once again if you're a victim of domestic violence. If you pick no, you continue your application. If you pick yes, you will again be given the number to the domestic violence hotline. And if you feel like you're in immediate danger, call 911 right away. So you pick no, and then you'll get to this emergency pre-screen. Basically, what the emergency pre-screen is, it's going to ask you if this has ever happened to you. Have you been served with papers? Have you gotten an eviction notice? Have you been received something from the bank that says you've been your house is going to be foreclosed? Did you get an unemployment denial? Have you been served with any legal papers that have less than 15 days to answer? If the answer to any of those questions are yes, we're asking that you call our intake line at 888-346-5592. You can continue the intake instead of having to call, but we're asking you to call us if there's a short response and something needs to be done immediately. If there's no emergency, click continue. We're then going to tell you, the system's going to tell you what you can expect. It's going to tell you that we're going to ask you for personal information, your income and assets, because for legal services, the majority of work, you must be financially eligible for our services. We do have some grants that we don't need the financial eligibility guidelines. So we're going to ask you your personal information, your finances and assets. We're going to ask the people in your household, and we're going to ask you questions about your specific legal problem. Again, the system will not say we can't help you because you make X amount of dollars, but we're going to ask you to fill out every single block in the online intake application in order for us to get a complete intake application on you, in order to eliminate a lengthy callback. The most important thing on this page you need to know is that you can't save your application and come back to it. So when you're doing an online intake application for legal services, give yourself 30 to 45 minutes to finish it. Some people finish it sooner, and some people may take a while, but don't save it and come back to it, because your information will not be there, will not save. On this screen, it will welcome you to the Legal Services Intake application. It will tell you to read the information on each page carefully. It will tell you to hit continue at the bottom to move to the next screen. The continue button will be a gray button at the bottom of the right-hand corner of your screen. And again, it will tell you do not use your browser's back button. If you do use your browser's back button, it's a possibility you will have not saved anything, and you will have to begin again. Once you read the introduction, it'll ask you if you agree to it. If you pick yes, you will continue with your application. If you choose no, it will tell you that you should call the intake line if you need assistance with getting an intake done. However, this time, if you click no and then you decide you want to change your mind after it tells you to call, you can hit back and then turn around and go back and click yes to continue your online intake application. In regards to security, we're going to tell you that this is a secure website. Remember to close out your internet browser if you're doing this using a public computer, or if you're in the library using a computer that's not yours. Remember to turn off to close the browser so nobody can try to get your application. In regards to privacy, basically what we're going to tell you is all information that you've given us in this application is going to be treated as confidential. We are not going to disclose any of your information without your permission. We're not going to let anybody see your information without your permission. Again, if you click no and you feel that you don't want to do an online intake application, the system will tell you to call the intake line. But if you click yes, you will move into the not a guarantee screen. And basically what this is completing an online intake application doesn't mean that we'll be able to help you with your legal issue. Upon the completion of your online intake application, your intake will be reviewed. It'll be reviewed to see whether or not you're financially eligible, if you qualify for a grant, or if it's something that we're able to do. If you remember, if you clicked on the types of problems at the beginning correctly, then that issue is not one, because it will be a type of case that we do. Upon completion of your online intake application, when you will get a phone call from one of the intake staff to verify your intake. If we can't get you, we will send you an email. If we do not hear from you after an email, we'll eventually send you a 5-day letter, because your intake is important to us. We assume that since you've taken this time to fill out this online intake application, that you do need assistance or do want some assistance from us. And so we are going to do everything we can to make sure that this intake application is complete, so we can see what we can do to help you. We'll remind you that completing this online intake application does not create a attorney-client relationship. It's just an application. Even though saying that, again, everything is confidential. We are not going to share your information. Now, getting started. You've gone through the permission screens, and now we're going to ask you, you must be at least 18 years to apply online. We're going to ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. If you're not a U.S. citizen and you click no, we're going to ask you for your immigration status, or whether or not you have a green card, and we'll ask you your visa number. We're going to ask you if your problem is criminal again. And we tell you that we don't do criminal work. Shoplifting, jaywalking, bouncing a check are criminal cases that we don't do. Again, if you click no, you will be giving your local public defender's office to see if they can help you. And this is what happens when you click that it is a criminal problem. Again, you'll see the link to the public defender's office and the link to the South Carolina Bar's Lawyer Referral Service. And as I said before, if you click this in error, you're going to hit the return button on the bottom right hand of your screen in order to continue your online intake application. Once you get past the criminal law screen, we're going to ask you if you're living in South Carolina. If you are not living in South Carolina, you can still apply online because you have a legal issue in South Carolina. So the no will not take you anywhere. It will allow us to continue your intake. But your legal issue must be in South Carolina. So you can live outside of the state of South Carolina, but your legal issue must be in South Carolina for us to be able to help you. So say if you were born in Pennsylvania and you wanted to amend your birth certificate, the legal issue would be in Pennsylvania because that's where your birth certificate is. But if you wanted to do a name change, just a name change, you can go ahead and do that in South Carolina. And here's where we're going to get your information. And this is what's really, really important, to fill out every one of these boxes as best as you can, because an empty box may cause a problem with the submission of your online intake application. And you don't want to be doing an online intake application for nothing. When you see a little red asterisk, those questions must be answered. You're going to put in your first name, your middle name in the second box, and your last name. Junior, senior, if you're junior or senior or a third or fourth, you're going to put the suffix in the suffix box. We're going to ask you your zip code. When you put in your zip code, the computer is going to generate what county you live in. But the most important part of the address is that first line where the arrow is. Make sure you put in your full address on this line. You may see a second box that says apartment and suite. but please put your full address, including the apartment, on the first line. Don't put anything in the apartment box or suite box. Put your full address on the street address line. You'll see that the computer thinks you would be in Richland County. We're going to ask you what your current living situation and whether or not you're renting an apartment, own your own home. Then we're going to ask you about your phone numbers. We're going to need you to enter the phone numbers where we can reach you. You will be called back to complete your online application. Again, the online application is not over once you finish submission. We need to call you back to verify some of your answers. And then we're going to ask you if we can text you. If you feel that we can text you, you hit yes. If you don't want us to text you because there's roaming charges, feel free to click no. We're going to ask you if your cell phone number is safe. And the purpose of that is, if you remember, you can apply online for an order of protection if you're a victim of domestic violence. We're not going to send you a text or an email or a phone call if there's any chance somebody else has got your phone. We are not going to put you in any kind of danger. So we want to know whether or not that cell phone is safe and is it with you at all times. We'll ask you who referred you to us, and then we'll ask you for an email address. Again, we will send you an email if we call you back and we can't get a hold of you. The email will give you instructions on when to email back a specific person with your times and your dates for when a callback can be done that we can actually get a hold of you. Please let us know if your case is related to this, to the COVID-19 pandemic. We would like that information to see whether or not people have gotten our information regarding COVID-19. Again, we're going to ask you if you're a citizen, and we will ask your immigration status if you're not a citizen. This is now you're going to get to the income information on the online intake application. This information and the household information is very important. We're going to ask you how many people over 18 are in your household. You're not to count yourself. You're going to count your girl or boyfriend, your significant other, or your spouse. You are not going to count any other adults in the home unless you have their power of attorney or legal guardianship of them. So if you're living with your adult parents, you don't count them or their income. You're going to be only counting yourself. If you're not married and you're living with a significant other, you will put all their children in the box that says the number of people under 18 in your household. And if you're taking care of a child or have legal custody of a child, you will also include those children in that number of people under 18 in your household. So it's really important to get the number of people in your household correct and who fits in your household. If you have a roommate, they would not fit in your household unless that roommate was a boy or a girlfriend or significant other. You're going to ask to put everybody's name in your household in there. You will put their name by their first name, their last name. You're going to give us their date of birth. And on this drop-down box, you're going to find what relationship they are to you, and you put that in the box. There's a plus sign at the end of this relationship drop-down box, and you will hit that to add another person, and you'll do that every time. So if you have 6 people living with you, you will in your household, you will do that 6 times. Put that information in, name, first and last, their date of birth, and their relationship, and then hit continue. Remember to include everybody in your household. That's important. And again, this is to show you how to add another child in the system. This screen gives a lot of people some problems. It's going to ask you, is there an opposing party? It's a yes/no question. Most cases have an opposing party. Not too many cases where there is no opposing party. So please make sure you click yes and put in all your opposing parties. And the opposing parties is either the person that you want to sue, the person you're having trouble with, the agency or business you're having trouble with. If you're getting not getting unemployment, it would be the unemployment, the Department of Employment and Welfare. Those would be your opposing parties. So remember to click yes, and most of the time you're going to have an opposing party. Once you put in all your household members, we're going to need your gross monthly income. Gross monthly income is the total monthly income before any taxes or deductions are taken out. If you know what your hourly wage is and how many hours you work on the average, then the easiest way to fill this out would be to put in your do the amount of your hours times your hourly pay to get what you make a week. The system will then compute what you make for the year. Again, we're going to need your gross monthly income. Examples of those are your wages and your salaries, again, before deductions. Any Social Security, disability benefits, any retirement payments from Social Security, any unemployment, any workers' comp payments, any veterans benefits you get, any alimony payments or child support payments you receive, any military allotments, any pension benefits, any insurance or annuity payments. If you get rent, we're going to need those, income from dividends, interest, rents, or if somebody is giving you money each month, we're going to need that to know that amount. And again, that information is to see whether or not you're financially eligible for legal services. We're going to ask you what your assets are. We're only going to ask you 4 assets. We're going to ask you what, how much money you have in a checking or savings account. We're going to ask you if you have any car that's not being driven by someone in your family. We're going to ask you if you have any piece of property that you own that's titled in your name that you don't live on. And then we're going to ask you what the value of your stuff is. The stuff in your home, your clothes, your jewelry, your furniture. We're going to ask you to give us an estimate about the value. We want you to give you the value of it at a yard sale, not what you paid for it, not what you think it's worth, but what you would get if you were to sell it at a yard sale. We're going to then ask if you get food stamps. If you do not get food stamps, we're going to give you the SC3 Thrive number and the website to apply for food stamps to see if you want to apply. The same thing is we're going to ask you if you have Medicaid, and if you do not, we're going to ask you, provide you with the SC3 number and the website to see if you want to apply for Medicaid. This one question says, is your income from only government benefits? You only click yes to that if you get Medicaid, family independence benefits, SNAP benefits or food stamps, or SSI. Not Social Security disability, just SSI. You would click no if you're getting any other disability benefit. So it's important to make sure that you do not click yes unless your sole income comes from either Medicaid, family independence, food stamps, or SSI. Again, this area is becomes a problem sometimes because people get confused if they get Social Security disability and they click yes. If you get Social Security disability income, you click no for this question. The computer will have told you how many people you've put in over 18 and under 18. Now it's going to ask you to include everybody's income. In the family member box, it's a drop-down box. It will have all the members of the family that you put in a couple screens ago. It'll ask you the type of income. Those would be a drop-down box that includes wages, disability benefits. You choose the one that is the source of the income. You're going to have to put in a frequency on how often you get that. If it's disability, to be monthly. You know, if you're going to do your wages, the easy way to do it would be weekly, and then you put in your amount, and then you can type in self. So, or you could leave that. Put any note in regards to that income. Remember, you must include everybody's income, so you need to hit the plus button and then go to the next line. If it's you, you've put your name in the family member drop-down box. If it's a spouse or a significant other, you'll find their name, and then you go across and fill in their income until you've completed the income for the entire household. And this is the information that we call you back to verify. So it's very important that you fill this out correctly, and so the callback is really takes only five minutes, and we can process your intake application faster. And again, you put in your asset information. Again, please put in a 0 if the answer is 0. Do not leave any of these boxes blank. A blank asset line would mean we're going to end up, we can't move on until we get an answer for that. So if the answer happens to be 0, please put in 0. And again, this is your best guess in regards to how much money is in the bank, how much your personal property would be. If you have land that's not in your name, and your land that's in your name but is not in your home, we're going to ask you how much it's valued at and how much is still owed on it. So the computer will figure out how much equity is in the land. The same with any vehicle not driven. So if you have 3 cars in your family, and your wife or husband drives one, you drive one to work, your wife and husband drives one to work, and you have a child that's 17 that goes to work and they've got a car to drive, then you would put 0 in this box because all cars are being driven by household members. It's not when you, if you're doing an application on your own, then you have 2 cars, that's when you're going to do the you're going to put in a car value for the one that's you're still paying on. So we're going to ask you to do the approximate value and how much is still owed on it so the computer can figure out the equity. It's always easier if you have more than one car to put in the car that you're making a payment on in order to reduce the equity. We're going to ask you if is there a reason to believe that your income is going to change significantly in the near future? You're going to click yes if you're about to start a job, if you're a seasonal worker, if you don't do do not work all year, you're going to put a little box going to come in, and you're going to type in when your income will stop. You know, it could be that you you work for a company, and the company lays people off every 2 months. Then you would put that in, and the reason that you put that in is so we can make sure that the income that you put in before is done correctly, because you don't want to put in more income if you're not going to work. You know, if you put $36,000 a year, we need to make sure that that's for 12 months. Here's where we're gonna, and this is an effort to eventually to try to get rid of us having to call you back. We're gonna ask you just to type an X if everything that you gave us about your income is true. And then we'll ask you to type your name, and then you hit continue, because your income will be verified. So that's, we wanna make sure that you put in those verifications. Here's where your legal problem comes in. The system remembers that you picked eviction as your housing problem. It's going to give you 10 questions. All the intake applications are no more than 10 questions. There might be one that's 11 questions, but no more than 10 questions regarding your specific legal problem. Again, type none in the box if the answer is none or zero. Please answer all questions. Don't leave anything blank. And you'll see these questions are specific to your problem. And again, a blank answer may cause your application to be lost. Once you finish your 10 questions, we're going to ask you for your consent. The first consent is going to be, we're going to let you know that your application can be accepted, it can be denied, it can be accepted for counsel advice, brief service, or we could represent you in court. And if you, once you click yes, you'll move down to the next one that it says, we also need your permission to allow you to share your information with private volunteer attorneys who may be available to represent you. Will you give your consent? Again, as I said before, everything is confidential. But what this is asking us, you're giving us the consent for us to share your information in case we can't assist you, but we can find either a pro bono attorney, a private volunteer attorney who can help you, that will help you for free. So we would need you, we'll ask you that question for you to give us a yes answer. The last consent is that we'll ask you, will you consent to share your intake information with our funders as part of the review of the work we do? We're grant funded, so we get audited. We need your permission to share your information with our funders. Again, we keep everything confidential. Basically what that is going to be is when we get audited, they'll ask us, they'll get a nondescript list of numbers, and one will be your case, and what we would do is then just point to things like a retainer, and that if we went to court, things like that. Again, everything keeping it confidential and nobody rifling through your personal information. The system will allow you to check your answers. So once you click the submit application button at the top on the right side, you can't go back and make any changes. So make sure you check your answers. If you have to make changes, you need to go back to the screens before you hit this, and then go all the way forward to hit submit application, because what you don't want to do is to be able to finish this intake and not have it submitted. So remember to hit the submit application button. It is at the top this time on the right-hand side. And again, it'll show you all your answers. It'll show you your script questions and how you answered them. Then once you hit the submit application, it's going to tell you your online intake is now complete. Well, it's not really complete because we're going to call you back. If you fill one out and you don't hear from us within 7 business days, please call the intake office at 888-346-5592 to get an update of your case. Upon hitting your application submit button, I end up getting an email that says your intake has been completed, and that's when an intake staff will begin calling you back to verify your intake. Again, we will remind you that there's no guarantees that your case will be accepted for representation. You will know something within 7 business days on whether or not we'll be able to help you. You can always call our intake office to get an update of your intake application, the status for your intake application. Our intake office is open Monday through Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you can finish, but we ask you to do one thing for us, and please click on the Go to Survey button and take a short survey. Again, this online intake application was created to benefit our clients and trying to get us a complete intake without a whole lot of interruptions in your life. So please tell us what you think about the survey. Give us some suggestions on how you think we can be better at it. It's very important to us what you think on how we can help you. There are going to be times when if you call the number that it's going to be busy. Please note that when you call us, you can wait up to 15 minutes before the system knocks you out of the telephone system. Please just call back right away, and that's a whole lot better than just giving up after 5 minutes. Wait the whole 15 minutes. We have 8 people answering the line for the entire state. Usually, if you call us on the day, you will get us during the day. We ask you that you be patient. It's the same thing as we ask you to be patient on online intake. Once your application be submitted, we will then immediately begin to call you back to get your income verified and your application verified so we can send it to the local office to see if we can help you. So please help us help you. And that's what the survey is going to look like. And we had some questions. So
yeah, Tom, this is Susie. We do have some questions. Now, one of them I think you've answered. You may have answered all of them to some degree, but someone asked if we take cases from people who do not have a social security number but just have a tax ID. And I think that was answered later on during your presentation, but if you just want to specifically answer that, that'd be great.
Yeah, as you see on the online intake application, we don't ask for social security number. So you can apply online. What's important on that is if you're a non-citizen or even, and you just have a tax ID, we're going to ask your immigration status. So we're not going to ask you your social security number on the online intake application.
Okay. And then there's a couple of questions, just I think addressing in general how to speak with someone at our offices, you know, in management, or how to get information about their case or their application. Like once it leaves your office, how do they call and get information about their application or about their case?
I can answer that. What happens is once your intake gets reviewed, we'll send it to the local office. But at the end of the application is going to be reviewed. If there's an intake for online intake applications, if you want to know the status of your online intake application, call the intake office number at 888-356-5592 in order to, and we'll tell you what the status of the intake application is. And if the intake has been moved to the local office, we'll give you the number of the receptionist in the local office so you can call to get follow up on your intake. If you call us on the intake line, the last thing we will do is tell you is where we're going to send your intake. And if you don't hear from them in 7 days, we will give you the number to the local office for you to call them directly to see what the status of your intake application is.
Okay, this has been such great information. I think that's all the questions that we have right now. You answered them all with your thorough presentation, I think. But I do want to thank you, Tom, for walking us through that process and for giving our viewers your tips for handling the online application for our services. And here, Tom is showing on our screen the contact information, all the ways to get in touch with us. I want to also thank everyone that joined us today. We do appreciate your interest in this subject matter and all the other ones that we cover in our Level Up Law series every Tuesday. It's a series of free legal events where we're educating the public on some of the most commonly faced legal challenges that we see here at Legal Services. You can join us every Tuesday at noon to learn the basics of a particular topic. Today's topic is a great one, and I invite any individuals and also our partners out there who are maybe assisting people who may need our services, and you can refer them to this episode of Level Up Law to kind of review what they need to know before they even get started with an online application. Because I think, Tom, am I right? There's nothing worse than someone getting halfway through and then not finishing it because they've run into some kind of stumbling block, and then they have to go back and start all over.
That's correct.
Yeah, so you'll be able to find this recording of this episode on our YouTube channel. So you can just go to YouTube and search for South Carolina Legal Services. Go to our Level Up Law playlist, and you'll find it there. And keep in mind that if you sign up for notifications on our YouTube page, you'll get that alert anytime we post one of the recordings of this series. So just give us a day or two to get this one uploaded, and you'll be able to listen in again. We'll have it timestamped so you can find where Tom is talking about particular items in the process that you are particularly focused on or interested in. And again, here is on the screen all of our information about contacting us and applying for free legal representation. Tom has a great staff there. They're always standing by, as he said, Monday through Thursday from 9 to 6. And you can also, of course, as Tom has described today, apply online. At our Law Help website, we've got a bunch of legal resources that are available to the public, so please do check that out. That same website where you apply online has all kinds of information that can be super useful to you in the particular issue that you might have. Again, we here at South Carolina Legal Services do thank you for tuning in to Level Up Law. We do hope that you'll tune in again next Tuesday when Tiffany Love and I will be going through the basics of bylaws with you. If you're starting a business or a nonprofit, drafting your bylaws is very important. Even if you already have bylaws and you have an existing business, you should be reviewing those regularly and adjusting them for any changes that you may need to address. So we'll be talking about that. And just remember, an easy way to see what's coming up each week is to check our Facebook page for South Carolina Legal Services, subscribe to our monthly newsletter, or you can follow us even on Twitter and Instagram, where we post the information about these installments each week. That concludes today's webinar. I don't see any more questions. And thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to having you back with us next week. And thanks again, Tom Trent, the managing attorney of our South Carolina Legal Services Intake Office, for a wonderful presentation with some great tips for making sure that that application online for legal services assistance goes through with no problem. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.